other mornings at Brown's Chapel, headquarters of the civil rights movement in Selma, the adults left first. Today, only 28, walking in small groups, went to the Dallas County Courthouse. Their purpose, to see the chief voting registrar to demand a speed up in the registration process. Sheriff Jim Clark ushered them into the second-floor courtroom of Circuit Judge James Hare. The judge warned them they faced 5 days in jail or $50 fines or both for contempt of court if they remained at the courthouse. They left. Shortly after noon came the students' turn. 346 of them, mostly teenagers, in groups of 5 to avoid violating the city parade ordinance. They walked quietly to the courthouse, then formed 3 long rows in front of the courthouse, joined hands or clapped, sang "We Shall Overcome" and other integrationist songs. Sheriff Clark, backed up by a strong force of deputies, city and state police, waited until all the youngsters had arrived, then warned them he would take them into custody for truancy if they failed to disperse. When the teenagers ignored the sheriff's orders and began parading in the street in front of the courthouse, Clark ordered them marched off. Through the streets of Selma, the pupils marched under heavy police guard, issued a statement saying they were demonstrating because their parents have been denied the right to vote. In Dallas County, although Negroes outnumber whites, several thousand whites are registered, only a few hundred Negroes. The teenagers were protesting voter registration procedures under which the Board of Registrars is open just 2 days a month, except under special circumstances. Through it all today, Martin Luther King spent his 3rd day in Selma's city jail. There are no indications when he'll post bond to get out. Charles Quinn, NBC News, Montgomery.
Things were fairly well as you can expect in jail. I think as a result of being that, as a result of the creative witness of hundreds and even thousands of Negroes in this community, we have been able to bring this whole issue to the attention of the nation, and I think to the conscience. I think there is a need now for new legislation, a constitutional amendment to grapple with the real problems that we face in this area in Alabama and Mississippi and other areas of the South. On the basis of this, I'm seriously considering going to Washington to talk to President Johnson about this whole matter.
he became sick.
Sunday morning service at the Shiloh Baptist Church in Jonesboro, Georgia. There is a visiting preacher in the pulpit this morning, but he is no stranger to the congregation. The Reverend Martin Luther King Sr., Daddy King, as he is affectionately known, began his career in the ministry near this very spot, about 20 miles south of Atlanta. The son of a hard-drinking, illiterate sharecropper, he left the farm to become an itinerant preacher at the age of 15. When he was 21, he entered the 5th grade in Atlanta to begin the task of getting a formal education and a college degree. He is 80 years old now and no longer a full-time pastor, but he preaches whenever he can.
See, fundamentally, that's what I am, a preacher. And I've got along with that. I stayed in that field, and I'll die in there, because I believe in, and I'm so committed to my calling.
For 44 years, Daddy King was pastor of Atlanta's Ebenezer Baptist Church. Under his leadership, it earned the reputation as the mother church of the civil rights movement. Back in the 1930s even, the Reverend King was using Ebenezer's pulpit to organize black voter registration drives, while his son Martin Jr. watched and learned. As a child, Martin had become aware of the injustice of segregation when a clerk in a white-owned shoe store told him and his father to go to the back of the store to be waited on. His father refused. But on the way home that day, you tried to explain to him the reason for that and how you said you were going to fight against segregation, and you made him promise to do it.
No, I didn't make him promise. I just told him what I would never accept.
But he said he wanted to help.
He made up in his mind what he was going to do. And then when he talked with his mother, he said, Mother, when I get grown, I'm going to turn this thing around and turn this world upside down. She said, how could you hope to do that? You just won. He said, I'm going to get a following. But he did what he said, no question about that.
I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
I guess he got much of his belief and courage in seeing what I did.
There was no prouder moment in Daddy King's life than the day his son Martin was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. But all too soon, the smiles would be replaced by sorrow. First, Martin was assassinated. Then his other son, A.D., drowned under circumstances which suggested suicide. And finally, his wife of 48 years, Alberta, was shot to death by a psychopath as she played the Lord's Prayer on the Ebenezer church organ. The faith of the preacher was put to the test to keep him from descending into bitterness and hate. But the faith he learned at his mother's knee stood with him. She taught him not to hate white people, no matter how badly they mistreated blacks. As a small boy, he had vowed to hate every white face he saw after he witnessed the lynching of a black man by a group of whites.
She kept teaching me. I kept reading that Bible. I began to see and read the passage which said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do, and so forth. And that applied to me. So I began to think differently about hating anybody.
There was something else which comforted him during these difficult times, a lesson the father learned from his son, the lesson of nonviolence.
I say to you as we march, don't panic, and remember that we must remain true to nonviolence. I'm asking everybody in the line, if you can't be nonviolent, don't get in it. If you can't accept blows without retaliating, don't get in the line. I say to you this afternoon that I would rather die on the highways of Alabama than make a butchery of my conscience. Yes,
It was violence and hate which ended his son's life. How then, the father asks, could he make room inside himself for that same emotion?
So even today, I hate nobody, no matter how I'm treated, whatever. not going to hate. I'm not going to stoop low enough to hate.
Martin Luther King Sr. may not have the worldwide recognition of his famous son, but in some respects, his accomplishments are even more impressive. As the son of a black sharecropper in a segregated South, he had to overcome tremendous odds to get an education and to become a successful leader in his own right, a leader who helped to lay the groundwork for the civil rights movement, which would be led by his son. His influence on Martin Jr. is incalculable. What is certain is that the inspiration was there. There would have been no junior without the senior, in more ways than one. For today, Kenley Jones, NBC News, Atlanta.
As we said, Daddy King is now in an Atlanta hospital with a viral condition in stable condition. The hospital report's not good enough. We want him to get very well very soon. We'll be back in a moment, but first a message.
If you're looking for a super beach this winter, come to this tropical island, Miami Beach. It has truly become America's international playground.
The British, French, and other Europeans now choose Miami Beach's beach instead of the others. Because how can you beat this beach, this weather, these hotels, and those lovely side trips to the Everglades, the Florida Keys, and other attractions? It's unbeatable.
This is a natural source of goodness. Golden American corn, the natural source of Mazola 100% pure corn oil. Because it's corn oil, Mazola is low in saturated fats, with no cholesterol. Because it's Mazola corn oil, no leading oil tastes lighter. And because it's Mazola, it's not made from soybeans or sunflowers. Because Mazola is the only leading brand made from the goodness of corn.
This is brunch.
And a client lunch.
This looks like a color fast day.
Max Factor Color Fast Lipstick for color that lasts.
Rehearsal's late. And your dinner date.
This looks like a color fast day.
Max Factor Color Fast Lipstick for color that lasts.
Fashion shows at 2, then the buyers are due.
This looks like a color fast day.
Max Factor Color Fast for color that lasts. For lips and nails, too.
A backgammon game gone awry. Hard to believe, but that's the complaint that Betty Furness received recently. Something wrong with backgammon?
You're going to love it, Tom.
Something wrong with my backgammon?
No, this is the game. And the backgammon game is made by Atari. It's the kind that you play on your television screen with a computer. Neil Haber called me from Rhode Island to say that he and all of his friends who have the game are frustrated because the computer does something funny to help it win. Well, fascinated at the whole idea of a computer that cheats, I asked Atari if I could go to their headquarters and play the game. They said sure. According to Mr. Haber, when it's my turn to play, the white dice at the top of the screen simply flash the numbers I have to play. There we go. Now, if he's right, when it's the computer's turn, if it doesn't like the numbers that appear on its now red dice, the screen will go black and the numbers will change to give it a better move. I tried it again. Keep your eye on the dice and we'll see if we can catch the computer one more time. Well, it looked like a something and a 3, and then what it actually came up with was a 2 and a 1. Let's roll the tape back and freeze the whole throw. Here's the first roll of the dice. It's a 3, all right, and a 2. Then the screen went black. And it did change to a 2 and a 1. All right, that game does exactly what the man in Rhode Island says it does. The question is why? Manny Gerard is with Warner Communications, the company that owns Atari. Mr. Gerard, is that game cheating me?
No, it's not.
What is it doing?
In the first instance, the change of the dice is our attempt to simulate actual dice rolling. We thought that would be more exciting for the people playing the game. The bit of black, when the screen goes black, is our computer using all its resources to decide what its move can do. By taking the picture off, we allow the total capability of the computer to work on making its next move. That is perhaps more graphically illustrated in our chess game, where the computer goes down for some considerable period of time to decide what its move will be.
Can you show me how that works?
Certainly can. I'll demonstrate with the simple move in chess, the opening move. Now the computer is using all its memory to make its simple move of moving its pawn forward 2 spaces.
Then that man is right that the game goes blank. But the computer doesn't cheat?
Absolutely correct. We want to entertain and amuse people. We have absolutely no reason to cheat.
Well, I'll buy that the computer doesn't cheat. Why would it? It isn't betting, and I'm sure Atari would rather have happy players than unhappy losers. But I can't figure out what the computer's thinking about as the dice roll. In the case of chess, it has a move to consider. When it goes black in backgammon, all it's doing is rolling dice, which requires no thought. I think I'll buy the first explanation I got from Atari, which is that there is a slight glitch in the programming at that point, and by the time they discovered it, they thought it wasn't worth reprogramming. If that's true, they hadn't reckoned with our friend in Rhode Island.
I want to say, I still have lingering suspicion, despite all that nice corporate explanation that we got there this morning. You have another follow-up on a story today.
I do, Tom. Whole different subject. A couple of months ago, I reported that people in Massachusetts who had formaldehyde foam, WSFA insulation, that's the stuff that looks like shaving cream. Well, the people who have it in their homes and could prove that it caused health problems could have the insulation removed by the installer at his expense in Massachusetts, which state had already banned WSFA as insulation a year earlier. On Tuesday, the Consumer Product Safety Commission proposed a national ban of WSFA on the grounds that it can cause short-term health symptoms such as coughing, nausea, and nosebleeds, and that long-term formaldehyde looks like a carcinogen. The formaldehyde industry says the CPSC's action is unjustified and scientifically unsound. The vote was 3-2, with the 2 Republicans voting for warning labels rather than a ban.
All right, buddy. Thanks very much. But that could change. We were just talking about that.
It could change with the new administration.
More Republicans beginning next week.
There may not be an ultimate ban.
All right, so we'll see. 4.5 now before 9 o'clock. We'll be back right after this word.
Cotton. I love to sleep on it, but I hate to iron it. That's why I'm all wrapped up in Canon Comfort Kale sheets. Comfort Kale.
Comfort Kale. Comfort Kale has more cotton for more comfort. Better yet, Canon makes it no iron. Comfort Kale.
Comfort Kale. No iron sheets that cost no more than ordinary for Kale sheets. Extra cotton, extra comfort, no extra cost. Comfort